Since this entire medical incident happened solely due to the gross negligence of the healer from the Siekan House, we simply have to do everything humanly possible to fix it, Daren stated firmly. Lucas's young face instantly darkened at the words. The thought of Tyuren's current situation, the veteran healer currently serving a harsh sentence in the Citadel's dark solitary confinement, caused a highly strange, conflicting feeling in his soul. What exactly do you think will happen to Tyuren in the end, Lord Daren? Well, since Her Highness finally woke up safely today, we will probably get by with just a formal conclusion of the sentence and a heavy fine, Daren answered with an indifferent shrug. She is incredibly lucky, the knight added, his voice cold. If the Grand Duchess's condition had been even a shred worse, Tyuren would have had to walk directly to the scaffold. There is no mercy for those who harm Imperial blood. Lucas frowned deeply, his eyes flashing with a silent rage. Tyuren had been a loyal, devoted vassal of the Siekan family for many years, and the sight of Daren so calmly discussing her possible execution caused a violent internal resistance in him. But the Duchess herself is too physically weak. That is the only reason it happened. Why should a loyal vassal be punished so severely for a woman's fragility? Young Master Lucas. Daren's voice sounded with a sharp, highly visible hint of warning. Exactly as if he were throwing a heavy bag of gold coins to a merchant, Daren extended his massive hand, grabbed Lucas by the shoulder, and led him aggressively to a quiet corner of the hall. I know that you hold a deep, highly unhinged grudge against the Grand Duchess, Daren said in a freezing tone. But you must stop being so openly hostile in the presence of the men. It reflects poorly on the Duke's command. I am not. You are currently more worried about the fate of a simple healer than you are about the literal health of the Duchess, aren't you? Daren looked sharply into Lucas's amber eyes. She is the daughter of the Emperor and the formal mistress of the East. According to the absolute laws of the land, whoever harmed her person should have been executed on the spot. The fact that Varkas has limited the punishment to simple confinement is extremely, highly lenient. Lucas stared at Daren with a mix of shock and defiance. So you genuinely recognize that second princess as the true mistress of the East now? Exactly what difference does it make whether I recognize her or not, boy? Daren scratched the back of his head and took a deep, heavy breath. It has already happened. It is now physically and politically impossible to cancel a marriage that was formally arranged by the Emperor himself. You will have to accept her as your sister-in-law, whether you want it or not. Now, it is significantly more important for us to strengthen the unity of the East before the North moves. Lucas met the veteran's serious, unyielding gaze. Following Varkas and traveling around the eastern lands for the last few weeks, even he had begun to realize something of the truth. The local landowners had only strengthened their own private positions and neglected the security of the common people, which is why robber clans now roamed the east with such impunity. Yes, there were capable managers like Sir Temurin, but most of the lords were more likely to test the new duke's resolve than to show him any real, complete loyalty. As Tyrone had previously warned, the social order in the East was quietly, dangerously crumbling from within. Perhaps we genuinely should rejoice at the emergence of a strong, ruthless new leader like Varkas, Lucas thought, reaching a highly unpleasant, bitter conclusion. I intellectually understand exactly what you mean, Lord Daren. But he absolutely didn't want to be considered a submissive, weak child, so he added with a sharp, sarcastic edge. So you're saying that while my brother is putting things in order among the treacherous Eastern nobility, I simply need to behave like a good little boy and keep my mouth shut? Please, for the love of the gods, do exactly so, Daren roared like an angry, tired bear. Lucas grinned a challenging, highly toxic grin. I already do this. Haven't you seen me avoiding her presence exactly like a rat avoids a cat? Even in front of my brother, I behave as quietly as a mouse. Daren frowned deeply. The man crossed his massive arms over his chest, leaned over, and sent a highly threatening, lethal look directly into the boy's face. This is absolutely not enough, Lucas. At all future formal events in Tarlin, you will show the proper respect to the Duke and his wife. If you continue to act so rudely, the discipline of the East will be. Okay. Stop lecturing me already. Lucas interrupted him in a burst of irritation and ran up the stone stairs to escape the lecture. On the way up, he noticed several of the Duchess's servants carrying silver trays laden with dozens of specialized dishes. Quite the little queen, isn't she? Lucas muttered sarcastically, his brow furrowing. He didn't genuinely understand exactly why he felt such a visceral, highly irrational hostility toward that woman. Ultimately, he was the one who had crossed the line first in the corridor, right? Looking back on that specific moment of violence, he felt more of an irrational, hot anger than a single shred of guilt. Perhaps it was because of that woman's gaze. She looked at me exactly like I was a common, dirty insect. When he had first met her eyes full of such intense disgust, exactly as if she had seen the most vile thing in the entire world, an ugly, highly unhinged desire had awakened in his blood for the first time. He wanted to break that arrogant woman. He wanted to make her cry. He wanted to see her pride shatter on the floor. This base, highly toxic thirst boiled in his blood every time he thought of her, and he felt himself losing control. A sudden, sharp feeling of nausea hit his throat, and he turned around to head back down. Along the way, he finally realized that he had been avoiding her not only because of Varkas's lethal warnings. If he got anywhere close to her, he would be forced to see the dirty thing inside his own soul that he never wanted to see. With this highly unpleasant premonition, he hurried away into the shadows of the fortress. Just one more spoon, Talia. Talia looked at the man holding the silver spoon out to her as if he were a two-headed, highly unhinged monster from an ancient legend. Did some evil Eastern demon take complete possession of Varkas's body and pretend to be him? Varkas calmly, highly methodically repeated the command. Exactly what are you waiting for, Your Grace? Open your mouth. Enough. I said I absolutely do not want any more of this porridge. Just one more spoon, and then we are done. I said no. She violently turned her head away, dodging the annoying spoon, but Varkas immediately reached out and grabbed her chin in his firm, calloused grip. Talia blushed a deep crimson and glared at him with a look of pure, concentrated fury. But Varkas didn't even blink in response. If you eat this, I will personally give you your favorite fresh fruit for dessert. You are being highly ridiculous, Varkas. I don't want either the porridge or the fruit. The spoon was nevertheless, highly efficiently put into her mouth. Talia swallowed the slimy, bland mass in a state of absolute horror, feeling it slide slowly down her sensitive throat. She stared at him with a look of absolute, high-fantasy fury. Varkas stood up from the bed in a carefree, clinical manner and removed the tray. Her deep doubts flared up again. Why exactly is a man like him, a man who has been in military service his entire life and never bowed to anyone except the Imperial family, so skillfully and so patiently courting a sick woman like me? Have you ever spoon-fed someone before this? Talia asked sharply, her voice full of suspicion. Varkas glanced at her over his massive shoulder and answered in a dry, perfectly clinical tone. Exactly how many times has it happened? I've lost count. Talia strained her blue eyes at him, feeling as if the porridge were about to violently come back out of her stomach. She grimaced and tried to force herself to smile a caustic, knowing smile. How incredibly touching, Commander. After so many years of absolute, perfect devotion to your flawless fiancé, now you have to highly humiliatingly court a monster like me. The first princess, Ayla, was absolutely not so capricious as you are, Varkas noted dryly, his voice perfectly even. I was actually talking about my stallions. Varkas looked back at her. When I fed Torque as a young, sick foal, he required significantly more physical care and patience than your highness currently does. Talia exhaled in a state of absolute, paralyzed confusion. She didn't know whether she should be happy that he wasn't thinking of Ayla, or whether she should be violently angry that her husband was comparing her to a common Eastern horse.